well, I want to try to test this thing. Okay? So I got about 15 minutes. You guys mind if I run through this real quick? But you guys see the logic, yeah? I'm very methodical. I'm very calculated. Yeah? I need to get more exposure. We got to get this to the Security Council. And we're going to utilize Article 35, subsection 2 of the UN Charter. A state which is not a member of the United Nations may bring to the attention of the Security Council a dispute. A state, which the Permanent Court of Arbitration verified, which is not a member of the United Nations, which is the Hawaiian Kingdom. We're not a member of the UN. We can bring a dispute before the Security Council. I want to test it. I'm not going to start the proceeding. I want to test it. I want to see if I can get in. So I'm going to wait till you have one of these presidents, one of these members become president. They got 15 members on the Security Council. We're going to purposely wait for one country to step in that cannot accept our complaint for political reasons. But they will be forced to accept it for procedural reasons. That country we're going to wait to become president? China. Wait for China. Because we're going to take advantage of a dispute that was taking place between China and America over Taiwan. Yeah, because Taiwan wanted to declare their independence. And then the United States president said, we're going to send the U.S. fleet to protect them out of the Pacific Fleet. But before they send the fleet in, they got to go find out. They did a recon, sending an EP-3 called a submarine hunter in the late 90s to determine whether or not China has the capability of launching missiles from under the water, from the submarines. Because if they can do that, they're not going to send the U.S. fleet in. They're sitting ducks. Remember when that EP-3 was taken down by 2 fighter jets in China back in the 90s? You guys remember that? Yeah. Those guys was detained. And then what they do? They gutted it. And then they sent it back. They actually held them captive for like a week or so. And what they verified, China has that capacity. You never heard anything about Taiwan again. So now we're going to approach China. Because if China accepts our complaint, knowing we're the 50th state, that's a green flag, green light for them to mess with Taiwan, the United States. You see how we're going to play that? So they can't accept it. So I went to New York, called the permanent mission. I said, hi, my name is David Keanu Sai. I'm here to file a complaint under Article 35, so Section 2 against the United States with the UN Security Council. First response, eh? What? No, you're the 50th state. Yeah, okay. Can I speak to your legal counsel? So they hooked me up to Miss Wu. She jumps on the line. I explained it to her. She says, oh no, you're in the wrong place. You need to be in the Committee of Decolonization, the Committee of 24, because we're natives. And we are fighting for our rights for self-determination. I said, no, we're not colonized, we're occupied. She goes, excuse me? Gave the history of Hawaii, walked it all the way through. She's really silent listening. And then I walked it through the Permanent Court of Arbitration. That's when she went, ooh. Once I mentioned who the arbitrators were, she said, I understand what you're doing. This is how you file a complaint. So they accepted it. They sent the courier down, signed it, went up. Okay, it's in. But really, how do I know it's in? Did it go into the circle file? Did it go into file 13? I don't know. I need something to verify that. Just so happens there was a law firm in Geneva, Switzerland. One of the PhDs over there, international lawyers, Patrick Dunbury from Canada. He's doing a story. He's going to write an article in the Chinese Journal of International Law titled The Hawaiian Kingdom Arbitration Case and the Unsettled Question of the Hawaiian Kingdom's Claim to Continuity as an Independent State under International Law. So he's writing it, he's investigating it, talks about the arbitration, even says what occupation is. You don't lose your sovereignty when you occupy, all that stuff. And then under here it says post-award developments. The complaint against the United States before the United Nations Security Council. He verified it was in. But nothing happened. Nothing happened on it. Well, you know why nothing happened? Because all we asked was, because we don't want to initiate any proceedings, all we said was, as a prayer, after we give our history, as a prayer, we humbly request recommendations. I know you're not going to tell us anything. My point was, can I get it in? That's what I'm testing. I just want to make sure we got it in. Okay, we got it in, perfect, let's move on. So I continue at the university, educating, we got that done. In 2012, we got to raise the exposure to the General Assembly. We're going to use that same provision, a state, not a member. We're not initiating proceedings at the UN because we're not a member. We're using the UN as exposure because Hawaii had 46 treaty partners, 1893, 46. Some of these treaty partners, like France and Great Britain, decolonized their territories. So now you have a country called Australia. Back in 1893, Australia was part of the British Empire. Hawaii had a treaty, 1851, with Great Britain. That means Australia today is a successor of Great Britain. As a successor of Great Britain, they are also a successor to the treaty. All of a sudden, we went from 46 treaty partners to 173. There's only 195, 196 countries in the UN. You see how it's starting to spread. We're going to follow protests and demand to all these countries for serious breaches under international law by these countries. And what they're supposed to do is say the kingdom doesn't exist. This is frivolous. They couldn't because it was accepted by the president of the General Assembly, Hanafa Mizui. She's from Algeria. She sits on the president's cabinet. She went through the same thing. She didn't want to take it, but once she realized that went to the Hague, she accepted it and she signed for it. Then their legal team reviewed it and then forwarded it to the president and said that it met the procedure requirements under Article 35. And all it was just sending it in. I didn't say get a resolution going. Just get it up. And every country got a copy of it. And that was verified by another article written by Noilani Goodyear Kaupua, a political scientist. She's a professor at political science in the Harvard International Review. Hawaii, an occupied country. So you see it's getting out. Yeah. Also, we followed paperwork with the International Criminal Court. Okay? A referral letting them know about war crimes being committed here. They got to step in, people getting hurt. It was accepted by the prosecutor's office. Here it is. Also, the International Court of Justice. Those countries that didn't respond, meaning they're silent. Silent means acquiescence. You are agreeing to the allegations of treaty violation. Okay, now we're going to take you to court. So we're starting a proceeding. International Court of Justice filed proceedings there. September 2013, accepted by the court, the registrar. They stuck. Because they cannot deny the information. Because to deny this information is to deny their very existence. That's what I call political jujitsu. I was also invited by the Swiss diplomats, Zurich Network in Switzerland. So that's me over there. This is the former ambassador of Switzerland to the United States, former ambassador of Switzerland to Lithuania, and Niklaus Schweitzer, former Swiss consul for Hawaii, also a professor. So I presented the history of Hawaii, and they were blown away. Blown. And they see it differently. Economics. Money, banking, that's their angle. And those were the questions that they were asking. What about the economy? Because that's what the treaties also provide for international trade. So I answered all these questions. But then I said, oh, and by the way, Switzerland is named in the complaint at the International Court of Justice for treaty violations. Because what I want is these Swiss diplomats here to call their government and say, did you hear about this complaint? Because what we want to do, we want to ultimately approach Switzerland, because they're a neutral country, to be a mediator, called a protecting power, to step in under the Geneva Convention at the international level to help this thing change. You need a country. We're eyeing Switzerland. Yeah. So it's almost like you got white cattle, but we're going after the Black Angus. Switzerland. Now we need somebody to pressure Switzerland. So that's when I went to the Geneva office of the International Red Cross, International Committee of the Red Cross. Because in the Geneva Convention, the International Committee of the Red Cross also can be requested to assist in securing a protecting power. So they're Swiss. They're Swiss. They're Swiss. I need them to help get a protecting power. And they were shocked. And this is their legal advisor. He was blown away with the information. Everybody goes through that. It's a shock and awe, you know. And then while I was in Geneva, I also met up with the Geneva Academy of International Humanitarian Law. They published this book called The Law Report. I met with Dr. Maslin. He's a PhD in international law. Lay out everything. I gave him publications before I showed up. And after my meeting with them, they come out with this book. Well, not they come out. They already came out with this book, The War Report, where they identify wars and occupations in order to hold people accountable for war crimes. And he contacted me and said that they're going to put Hawaii, they're going to list it in December, which is coming up. They're going to note us in that war report. They didn't have all the information yet, but they feel very confident to at least note it right off the bat, and then follow up in details later. So reporting Hawaii's occupation will assist in the prosecution of war crimes. Again, gotta be careful what you say now. Be very careful, especially if you're in state government. Yeah. So I tell my cousins, brother, slow down. Don't act like you know everything. And the Swiss government actually met with our envoy, who was a former diplomat, came in. And they met on 2 occasions, March and August, in Bern. Negotiations had begun for them to be the protecting power. And everything else is moving, and this and that, and yeah. You see how much you can do with just a few people who know what they're doing. Yeah? Because we're not here to reinvent the wheel. This is our house. I'm just going to the circuit breaker. I don't need 10,000 people go to the circuit breaker and turn on the lights. That's the key. So education is key, and if anything, what happens here, and what I am involved with is this maximizes kuleana. It does, it maximizes kuleana. It makes you better at what you already are. If you're a teacher, and you teach in a DOE, be a good teacher and stop teaching right. If you're an attorney, be a good attorney and start presenting these arguments and hold them accountable on the evidence. If you're a businessman, be a good businessman. Start to reach out on the trade with China and everybody else, because the Jones Act doesn't apply here. This is free trade, you know? If you're a professor, do more articles. Teach, teach, teach. One thing we learned in the Army, before you train the soldiers, train the trainers. Right now I'm into teaching the teachers, as well as teaching the students. So it's ongoing. But the more you know you don't know. And you gotta learn more. Keep filling the gourd. So if anything, I just want you folks to know that have pride, a genuine pride in our history, no matter who you are, because if you live here, you're part of this history, you're part of this country. And things will move for the future. Any questions?
Do you get any attorneys that we can contact if we can help with taxes, filing taxes, for IRS taxes?
Okay, the question is, attorneys, if we can meet up. I would suggest, things are already happening, things are moving. Just pay your taxes, okay? Whatever is illegal, you get that money back anyway. That's how it works. This is called pillaging. Don't stand out. Play the game. You know when you cross the 38th parallel in North Korea, you don't jump up and down yelling, I'm an American. Brother, blend in. Blend in and wait for the reinforcements to come in. This is education first. Things will happen automatically. You'll be told where you need to go to get something done. Don't worry about trying to get it done. It's going to happen. Because this has to take into consideration not just what is going on in Kona, but what is going on Hawai'i Island, what is going on all these islands, what is going on in the Hawaiian Kingdom, what is going on at the international level, what is going on with trade. They're all interconnected. They're all interconnected. One does not exist without the other. They're all components. Yeah? We need to understand that.
Do you see John Kerry answering the inquiry from Professor Chang?
It doesn't matter because he did it. It's called acquiescence, and they can't. You know, it's almost like a rhetorical question. We already got PhDs in this area. Went to The Hague. I know he can't answer. a rhetorical question, because I know the answer. But it gave them an opportunity to prove it. Now, if you think Hawaii is a part of the United States, then it shouldn't take the United States all this time to try to prove that Hawaii is a part of the United States. Right? It should. No can. So, enough throwing salt in the wound. Just move beyond carrying all of that and hold her. The issue is us. What are we going to do? So the idea of land titles, that's one aspect. Yeah? So if you guys interested in looking into the land title issue, check out Laulima Title Search and Claims. Yeah? If you're interested in getting education, go take my class, go take other people's classes. You know, this is ongoing. Now, in a couple weeks, I'll be heading to Europe. But I know, I do not tell people I went fishing. Otherwise, the fish go here and swim away. I come back with the poke. Then you know I went fishing. And you know what? It may not just be ahi, it might be nenue, yeah, might be a'o, a'u, I don't know. Depends what I want and what we need. And there are things that we're doing. So I'm still very tactical. And if you want to get educated on information, I would say visit hawaiiankingdom.org/blog. A lot of up-to-date information.
How do you feel about the Hawaiian Commission role?
It's all irrelevant. But the problem is they're running into war crimes. It's called collaboration. It's called Americanization. But Auntie, who don't know history, thinks she knows what she's talking about, and she doesn't. But they're only setting themselves up. It's the arrogance. But you know what I think? It's the sovereignty groups that have created the problem. That's why they think this is sovereignty. No, it's not. You teach this. This is law. This is history. But there's so many different sovereignty groups, they almost make it sound like Colette Machado says, oh, that's Keanu's alternative. What do you mean alternative? It's my PhD. It is what it is. It's not like you have a choice. It's a remote control. Now tell me it's not a remote control. Don't tell me it's an alternative. You see what I'm saying? But the arrogance could move into criminal liability. That's why Dr. Krabs sent that letter. And for people to disregard that, don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. Ken, you know what? I gotta go. You gotta go. I've got now.
Mahalo everybody for coming. Again, if you guys didn't get to sign up on the sheet, because I know we ran out of space, we just want to mark up the back. Just turn them over, write your name somewhere on there. That way we can see who's been touched, because we will be trying to do more of these things in the future. You guys need to email me if you guys want to stay in touch. Kaho'okahi@gmail.com.